Welcome to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Legal issues simplified through real client stories and real-world experiences. Creating simplicity in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd.
Thanks, Brad. As a business and healthcare law firm, we meet a lot of interesting people and learn their amazing stories. This season, we are riding the emotional roller coaster of the crises that can arise in the operating season of a business. Mm-hmm. Our theme this season is running a business.
Yeah, and Michael, for those who don't know, running a business is just one of the several seasons of running of a business. What are the other ones?
The 4 seasons are the building season, mm-hmm. which is starting a business, the operating season, the running a business, the scaling season, mm-hmm. growing a business, and then the buying and selling season.
Perfect. Michael, before we get started with today's show, I wanted to ask you a very important question, and you cannot lie. Are you feeling older today?
Anytime you mention age, I feel like it's a trap.
All right.
Yes.
Fair.
I'm feeling older today.
Well, do you remember the very first time someone saw you and thought you were an adult?
No, but I have a vivid memory of the opposite.
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to be a little vulnerable right now, Brad.
No one's listening. You're fine.
Okay. All right. I was in 8th grade
mm-hmm.
and had not gone through puberty yet. That's twice that we've used that in recordings. I was not developed. My 5th grade sister, Meredith, had developed. And I had someone at an event ask about my older sister.
Oh.
In front of both of us, and I was crushed. I was not my current irrationally self-confident self back then. I was young and not confident, and I just couldn't handle the idea that someone thought my baby sister was my older sister.
Oh, yeah, that does burn.
What about you?
Yeah, I can actually remember the first time someone thought I was an adult. I had graduated from law school. I was working as an attorney, but still didn't really consider myself an adult. I had gone back to Loyola undergrad campus for an interview for a political class I was going to take. And I got in the elevator, and some kid with the backpack on, who I felt I was, gets in and looks at me and goes, "What floor, sir?" And I actually looked behind me trying to figure out who he was talking to. And it was only me and he on the elevator. So apparently that day I became an adult, which is, as you know, with our 13-year-old boy brains, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, and now that you say that, I do have a memory of the first time one of my kids' friends called me Mr. Byrd, and I was looking over my shoulder for my dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, why are you asking questions about us being grown-ups?
Well, today, I feel like we must have matured somehow and gotten older, because today we hit a huge milestone, Michael. Our 200th podcast episode, and, I feel like we're still going to get going.
That's incredible. It has been a blast, and I cannot believe that this is already at 200. It feels like yesterday that we were celebrating our 100th episode.
I know, and so we're going to do a little facts here, people. Michael, do you know the average sitcom on a TV that produced 20 shows for 6 seasons? Do you know how many shows that accounts for in a life of a sitcom?
Are you trying to make me do math?
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay, well, 20 times 6, if I read the word problem or listened to it correctly, I believe is 120.
Yes, it is. And so at this point, with our 200th show, we're actually beating the average TV sitcom.
Well, what kind of sitcom would Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto be?
An amazing, funny one with 2 extremely handsome men on it.
Oh, okay. I like the way you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but we might have to hire someone to play you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's another interesting fact. Did you know the average number of podcasts that are made before they stop the show?
Another math question. 1 billion.
You are incorrect.
Oh.
That's way too high. Well,
okay.
According to podcast sources, 90% of the podcasts only make 3 episodes, while another one noted that only 11% make it past 50. So I think we're beating the odds.
Are podcast sources Siri?
No, not her.
Oh, okay. But so you're saying there's a chance?
Yes.
Okay.
We're questioning. And well, for our listening audience not watching on our YouTube channel, in honor of our 200th show, Michael and I got all gussied up with our bow ties and our black jackets and these giant 200 balloons behind us. So it was a really atmosphere happening here in the studio. And, maybe we should open a bottle of champagne to celebrate our 200th show.
I actually think that would be a bad idea. I don't think we need any liquid enhancements. We can barely stay between the line as it is.
Fair point. I guess I'll keep drinking my hot tea over here.
Using air quotes, I see.
Well, normally, I get all mushy and start talking about our favorite shows or about an amazing audience that provides us this great feedback. But not today, Michael, because on today's show with the Legal 123s of ByrdAdatto, the architect, the godfather, the inspiration, or other synonyms that I didn't feel like looking up, of our show is here. I think we need to bring him on.
Today, joining us for the third time is our friend Tim Sawyer. Mm-hmm. Tim is the former host of the podcast True to Form. Tim was founder and president of Crystal Clear. It was a software marketing and consulting company that he sold in January of 2021. And Crystal Clear was not Tim's first rodeo. No. Tim is a two-time Inc. 100 entrepreneur. He's had PE exits at a combined valuation of $90 million, and that was my last count.
Yes.
And he is currently CEO of Spark Money IQ, business advisor and investor in Regen Max, and a partner in True Mail Medical. And very importantly, as you alluded to, pushed us to start this podcast.
He did.
Tim, welcome to the show.
You guys are freaking hysterical. I'm going to be honest with you. I love watching the opening. This never gets old. You guys are it's so funny. And my only comment would be the first time I thought I was treated as an adult was actually at my sentencing hearing.
For those that know, Tim has shared his in another podcast episode his some life struggles,
his origin story.
Yes, his origin story.
That's what I knew. Ooh, this guy thinks I'm a grown ass man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Good to be back, guys. Really appreciate it. I am just, hate to say it, just tickled pink to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
we're so glad to have you.
Same.
All right, well, let's jump in. And Tim, for those who have not heard you on the prior two times you've been on with us or on one of your shows, share your professional story with the audience, kind of your background.
Sure. So my greatest influence, the only job I ever had, I spent 12 years right out of college working for a federal savings bank at a period of time when that was just a fancy way to sell subprime mortgages across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in a really, really strong sales-driven culture. Great. The bank president was super involved in everything that we did. We had 42 men and women working on the phones like crazy. I think if I remember telling you guys last time, it was an environment where we literally had the 7-Eleven mirrors
at the
end of all the halls so they could see us, make sure we were on the phone constantly. And that shaped me in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
One was helped me to be the sales guy that I am. I became a sales trainer there, a recruiter, and learned a lot of valuable sales lessons, but I also learned some tough lessons too. And that ended 12 years of, treating every day and every dollar like it was my own. And then I realized that if you don't have equity in a business, things can get tricky.
Mm-hmm.
So spent 12 years here, learned a lot, grateful for that experience. Then I met a really cool guy named Adam DeGrade. And Adam is a really unique human. He started his first company, a digital marketing company, under the Find, Sell, Keep, what I now call the Find, Sell, Keep umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And really early on in digital marketing, when websites were a brand new thing, 1997, 1998, he built that company to a valuation of over $200 million. We met through our daughters and through our wives, and he was getting ready to sell a company called BZ,
mm-hmm.
named after his kids, Brooke and Zach. And he approached me and said, hey, do you want to do something together? And I was just coming out of the bank business. I had a small consulting company working with banks and credit unions. And we started a company called Astonish. And that was the craziest experience in the world. We started it actually catering to mortgage companies and banks right into the teeth of the 2008 crisis.
Oh, wow.
And bad. So we had all these beautiful digital marketing software contracts that we couldn't execute.
Mm-hmm.
And then we pivoted into insurance. And we worked with local insurance agents, grew that. That company, we sold it. Didn't get all the money out of it, but we did get a $54 million valuation, and we got some. So we felt good about that. Took a little break after that, and then we started Crystal Clear.
Mm-hmm.
So we went from cars to mortgages to insurance agents to elective medicine. And all of our clients were plastic surgeons, cosmetic dermatologists. Obviously, my incredibly grateful for my time with the American Medical Spa Association, leading up to COVID, the opportunity to speak at every single one of their events and make incredible friends. Sold Crystal Clear to two private equity firms, one owned by Jerry Jones, as you know, Blue Star Innovation Partners. The other, Providence Equity Group, we did great. Not embarrassed to say, $37.5 million for that, and that private equity group. Both of them were amazing to work with, and I would recommend them to anyone looking to exit or partner. Took a little break, and as you mentioned, did some work through a company called Spark Money IQ that I started, and I taught financial literacy at the high school level, mostly as a volunteer. Did some paid work. That was incredibly gratifying. And it's funny because you guys may know Lou Frasina. Lou Frasina is literally the godfather of aesthetics. He was the guy who brought Juvederm to the United States. Got paid a bunch of money for that. And he and I were talking one day, and he said, "Yeah, I love everything I see you doing on Facebook. And, it's really cool." He goes, "So you're doing your guilty tour, huh?" I said, "What the hell does that mean?" So we've all been there. So it actually wasn't a guilty tour. It was out of inspiration and something much needed in our country is financial literacy with kids. But at the end of that, I had stayed close with a lot of our early stage customers and clients at Crystal Clear, one of which is Christina Imes and her stepdad, Dr. Robert Marshall. Mm-hmm. And they, at that time, had just sold their med spa, and they had this small men's clinic, and they were trying to figure out what to do with it. And we'll get into it more during the podcast, but I was actually now engaged in conversations about this patent, this RegenMax patent, first and only patent for the reversal of erectile dysfunction. So I flew out to meet with Christina and Dr. Marshall, said, "Hey, here's what I want to do. I'd love to become a partner in the clinic. I'd love to bring RegenMax in as a licensee." And so for the past, going into month 15 as a clinic owner, operator, and the licensing director for RegenMax. And that has been an incredible experience. And what's interesting is at the end of the day, everything that I've done since the bank are many of the principles that I operate under today. I learned, when I was 25, 26, 27, growing up in that intense sales environment. And so all the companies that we've been involved in, number one, we want to make sure that we're doing good for the world, doing good for our clients, and they have strong sales and marketing cultures. Get that. And I'm never giving up on that. And I'm unabashedly never apologizing for building strong sales and marketing cultures. And congratulations to you guys on 200. You deserve it, and your audience, I'm sure, is appreciative. So that's really cool.
Well, that's awesome. And what a cool story going from, all the way from where you were from the banking to all the different industries you hit. And then obviously your passion for helping others with the Spark Money IQ. And now, it really, and for our audience members, maybe we can double click and go a little further into what is True Male Medical. What does that do?
So True Male Medical, it's a men's health and wellness clinic. It's got a focus on erectile dysfunction. So erectile dysfunction is a huge issue in the country, in the world right now, quite frankly. And there's recent studies that show after we hit 60, it affects at some level of severity 1 to 5 as many as every other guy. And so True Male Medical focuses both on what I call the disease side, which is erectile dysfunction, but then also on the wellness side. So there's been an explosion in the demand for BHRT or bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, pelleting hormones, testosterone therapies. Of course, we wouldn't be doing our job if we're as elective medical folks not providing this incredible group of weight loss drugs, tirzepatide and semaglutide. We've got a real robust program for that, not just the drugs themselves, but also for living a healthy life, making better lifestyle choices. Personally, you guys may not have noticed, I'm down 40 pounds.
Congrats.
Our own cooking at True Mail.
Yeah. And
Dr. Robert Marshall is an absolute animal. He's 76 years old. He looks like he's 50. He still competes as in bodybuilding, and he's been an absolute inspiration to me. Mm. And so, our constituents are 40 to actually now 90. We just had a guy come in the clinic, found us, 87 years old.
Wow.
Going into the RegenMax protocol. Really, really cool guy. So that's been a blessing. Very different than being on the vendor side of this equation. But it's been awesome. So now what we're doing through True Mail and RegenMax is we're out. We've perfected it in terms of the protocol itself. It's the only globally patented protocol for the reversal of ED with a 97.2% efficacy rate.
Wow.
And now we're licensing that to other clinics. So I'm wearing both hats. I'm a clinic operator, and I'm a guy trying to help other clinics get the same result. And so it's been fascinating. And I miss aesthetics. I have to be honest with you. That was a wonderful journey, and some of the coolest people in the world that I met. And it's still amazing to me how 4 years after the sale, I get customer service calls for Patient Now. If I can upload their database, I'm like, these people don't even know my name.
That's funny.
But Patient Now has gone on to do great. I mean, they've done amazing things, and they're still kicking butt. And so,
yeah. And for our audience members tracking, Patient Now is what Crystal Clear became.
Go ahead.
Bought Patient Now, Crystal Clear, RX Photo, put them all together. And they're kicking butt right now.
Yeah.
It's been great. It's cool to watch, and it's cool that I don't have to freaking chase any of these people around the country trying to get them to sign contracts. So that's amazing. Well, I pimp myself out 42 weekends a year hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, first I have to applaud you for, Brad and I very well, that you would trust us to have the maturity to listen to you talk about your current business without breaking out into 13-year-old boys.
Although,
like I said, guys.
Yes.
Make hard easy.
Yes. For our audience members who are not watching us on YouTube, Tim has decided to wear a shirt that says that. So it's definitely, if you have not watched the show, fast forward to about the 17-minute mark, and you'll see Tim in his glorious shirt. And I did notice you did.
Ask my wife about how comfortable that is when I wear this when we go out to nice dinners in Newport. Great conversation starter.
Yeah, I bet.
As you know, it's stiff competition. It's hard business.
Oh, you're gonna get us going now. Tell me how many locations do y'all have now on True Mail Medical, and kind of what's your vision there?
So, there's a couple different clinics I'm involved in. One is Sexual Wellness Centers of America, located right near you guys.
Okay.
In Colleyville, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Colleyville, we had 2 locations there in Colleyville and Frisco, and that's where we did most of the clinical trial.
Okay.
So we've got a clinic there, fully up and running, functioning. That's doing great. We have True Mail in Oak Brook, Illinois. We're actually moving into a bigger location.
Nice.
14 months into it. Psyched about that. And then we just opened a new second location in Delavan, Wisconsin. Delavan is just outside of Lake Geneva and not too far from Milwaukee. And we actually partnering with a really cool med spa locally on some of the wellness stuff. And so our goal, our intention is to open up. I'd love to open up a clinic here in my home state of Rhode Island, looking at locations in Providence. And, it's tricky. I don't know that I'd love to get 100 clinics going. I'd like to get 5, 6 really good ones. And this business is, it's bioscience, right? Mm-hmm. And we're meeting men at a very vulnerable place. We actually treat women as well in the Texas locations, but we're meeting men at a very vulnerable place, and we take that very seriously. Mm-hmm. And so we don't want to stretch ourselves too thin, right?
Right.
We want to make sure that number one is, you guys know, compliance is really important, and efficacy. We want to make sure that we're getting great medical results for our clients, our patients. And so that's kind of where I see this going. It's funny, guys, because as aesthetic people, and I know you represent all types of medical practices, but if you think about the protocol itself with a quick plug, we combine 4 elements to it. One is shockwave therapy, or the popular Gaines wave.
Mm-hmm.
The other is pelleting. So we got to get their hormones right. That's the number one. All of us, by the way, need to get our hormones right.
Right.
And then our big breakthrough is my business partner was the first guy, Jeff Newsiard, to figure out how to transfer heat from the exterior to the interior and then regenerate collagen.
Yeah.
That was the big breakthrough. So between and in aesthetics, everything ends up being fixed by a laser.
Uh-huh.
Right? And the fact that this guy figured out how to regenerate collagen and then did this amazing clinical trial. And then when you add to that a biologic,
Yeah.
so a lot of you've heard of the P shot or the O shot.
Yeah.
In our business, it's really exciting. We're actually using exosomes and cytokines and combining that with shockwave and BHRT and the laser to get an incredible result. And so when you think about, first of all, the fact that you guys are talking to me, my background, and then I'm talking to you about running a medical clinic,
Yeah.
if that doesn't scare you.
Well, that's a perfect segue. I had a question on that. For a long time, you were on the outside looking in. You were a vendor, obviously working with aesthetic and wellness clinics. Now that you've switched over and you're inside the actual, you are the client that you used to work with, what was the biggest surprise that you learned, besides all these fancy terms you're throwing at us?
So, and I apologize for the vernacular, but I'm showing my medical chops.
Yeah,
right?
no, I love it.
Teaching myself as I go. So the biggest thing that I probably underestimated, given the thousands of hours I spent behind the podium preaching to people on how to run a successful business and scale it and all the principles that you need, is how important the people are.
Mm.
I really underestimated the challenge to get good people, the challenge to train these people, the challenge to inspire and motivate these people. And then our team, and I want to kill the word staff. I want to kill off the word staff. I never want to hear staff again. They're team members, and they're important. And the hardest thing is, as a leader coming out of an industry that's very authoritarian, meaning, you can tell a guy who writes code or a gal who is in customer service, you've had it with them, today's their last day, take your stuff and leave.
Yeah.
Well, you can't say that to a nurse practitioner who's got a full schedule of clients this week.
Yeah.
It's not, I can't see them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not I'm not a healthcare provider. And so that relationship between leadership, team members, it's got to be really symbiotic. And so fostering a culture is so strong. And getting people to believe in what you're doing, that's really that's the magic that I underestimated, and the amount of training that has to go, because these people, and they're awesome, amazing people. They have hearts to serve, but they're not salespeople. They're not retail people. They were never trained that way, and so just to get frustrated because we used to talk about listening to phone calls,
Right.
Uh-huh.
I listen to every single inbound phone call that comes into my clinic. I don't listen to the whole thing, but I definitely click on every one of them. And we look at all of those as teachable moments. And we have a culture that our team knows, hey, if I shoot you a note and say, hey, can we go over this? It's not insulting. It's not offensive. It's not attacking you. It's saying, hey, how could we have done this better? And fostering that culture so that people want to learn. And what's interesting is, once you get to that point, and our team knows Tim's going to listen to every phone call. He's crazy about it.
Yeah.
They want to get better and they want more accountability. And then if you combine that with the right rewards programs, legally compliant incentive and rewards program, then magic happens.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can't will an organization to success without buy-in from the team. And that was the most humbling thing for me, was I'm really I'm dependent on them, and I hope they're dependent on me.
It's fascinating to hear. We know your background so well, and your influence from your first job on sales culture. To hear you talk about bringing that into this completely different environment with professionals, it's fascinating.
Mission critical.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost out of time, Tim. But one of the things I was curious is, you gave us this great idea of starting our podcast, which we obviously celebrating our 200th right now. Do you have any good ideas that we need to know about next that you need to tell Michael and I to start doing?
First of all, I tip my hat off to you guys. I've been watching from afar, and it just blows me away that you guys have been able to get the level of success that you have. And I can tell you put, so first of all, the preparation that you guys put into this, and I heard the statistics about the number that go past 3 episodes. I 100% believe that. Although he wouldn't be beyond making up some stats for, but he didn't let a good crisis go to waste. No, but I mean that you guys have done a really good job, and preparation, guest selection. You've got a great team member that makes sure that you're doing all the things correctly, right? And you're doing them with frequency, consistency, dedication to it, and always, continue to just improve your craft, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you're speaking to your audiences, listening, you never want to get away from that. And the fact, really just a reminder, and you're doing it, is that you're successful because you always make it about the guest, and you let them be themselves. And I feel very comfortable, being myself. And if you listen to a lot of podcasts, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
It's self-promotion. So the people who are doing the podcast, it's all about them. So I would just, my encouragement is to keep doing what you're doing, stay true to the original principles that you used to start it, and keep having me on as a guest and letting me promote shit.
Yeah, love it. Appreciate the feedback. I can't believe always the time flies when we're together. We're have hit our time. So what we'll do is we'll say goodbye. We'll go into commercial, and then we can do a little quick legal wrap up when we come back. Thank you.
Amen. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Good luck. Congratulations. And I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you. It's always a blessing.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Tim.
Many business owners use legal counsel as a last resort rather than as a proactive tool that can further their success. Why? For most, it's the fear of unknown legal costs. ByrdAdatto's Access Plus program makes it possible for you to get the ongoing legal assistance you need for one predictable monthly fee. That gives you unlimited phone and email access to the legal team, so you can receive feedback on legal concerns as they arise. Access Plus, a smarter, simpler way to access legal services. Find out more. Visit ByrdAdatto.com today.
Welcome back to Legal 123 with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd. Now, Michael, this season, our theme is running a business. And we had an incredible guest on just now with Tim really talking about his journey from being an outside vendor to actually running his own business. But what I thought was fascinating is this season is running a business, but he's already talking about the next season, which is now scaling that business, and maybe some takeaways you had.
Yeah, and it's kind of perfect as we conclude our podcast season and get ready to jump into our next podcast season. It's a great transition. And what's interesting is on prior seasons, we've talked a lot about team. Mm-hmm. And what really occurred to me listening to Tim share a story is kind of the journey of getting his team in order, taking his old prior experiences from the vendor world, integrating that into the professional environment, and building a great culture. And it just occurs to me that in the operating season, that is so critical before you try to scale. Yeah. Because if you don't have your team in order when you try to scale, it's just going to compound the problem.
Absolutely. Great points. Well, Michael, next Wednesday, we kick off season 17. We'll have a preview of scaling a business. Also, it'll be our 201 episode.
Fantastic.
Thanks again for joining us today. And remember, if you like this episode, please subscribe. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating and share with your friends.
You can also sign up for the ByrdAdatto newsletter by going to our website at ByrdAdatto.com.
ByrdAdatto is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by ByrdAdatto. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues.